Dickinson County Commission regular meeting for May 30th, 2024 to order. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approve the agenda as printed with no additions.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda minutes for the May 23rd meeting. Expenditures of $453,877.07 and checks of $428.90. SD security wire $4,674. Health insurance wire $160.10.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Commission comments and committee reports. Ron?
I just want to make a comment that I'm sure glad we're getting more moisture. Our farm ponds are filling up, but crops are looking good. And so that's something to be thankful for.
Lynn?
Well, the only thing I'll mention, I attended the state track meet down at Wichita this past week and weekend, and there's outstanding athletes and people very, very dedicated that participated. Abilene and Chapman both had some fine showings, and they had some state champions. But also the level of competition really is impressive down there, and just the fact that so many qualified to go to state is just amazing. So anyway, it kind of made you felt kind of proud when you'd see one of the Chapman or the Abilene kids step up to the medal stand and get recognized. And so anyway, it's good weather for that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Lynn. Yesterday, I attended the KAC meeting in person and yesterday. In our work session, the juvenile detention presented their budget. Of course, Historical Society presented their budget, and the county attorney presented their budget. Tim Hamilton, our zoning and planning administrator, gave us an update on the two CTQPs that he'll be presenting to us today before the meeting. Any other questions? If not, anybody online?
Not that has a comment.
So we have no petitions, presentation, or further public comments. Janelle, please.
Commissioners, as you know, we're planning on updating our website, and we had a kickoff meeting with that. Dustin and I participated in that and have our work cut out for us. We'll get started on that, and hopefully by this fall we'll have a new website to showcase. Paving continues on Old 40 east of Abilene, weather permitting. As you know, we've got rain coming today, but they're continuing to work on that. So concrete's being poured or has been poured for the approaches at 1022 Old 40 Bridge. So we'll let that cure. We also had an advanced weather spotters meeting yesterday for responders in our region. It was well attended. I think there was probably 50 attendees there, which was great. And they talked at length about the safety of our responders, our spotters when they're out there. Places that they need to be at, when they're out doing that work. So we're continuing with budget preparations. And then also Monday night, I attended the City of Abilene Commission meeting, and they did approve the recent submittal to KDOT on the 14th Street project for the turkey neck there. And as you remember, we are a part of the application, and the city and the county were going to share that cost. And then KDOT also, it's a cost share program. So KDOT's share was $724,500, and the city and county were about 1.1. So this would be to improve that area. And there was a map that basically they're going to widen the shoulders, they're going to add sidewalks, get rid of the turkey neck, if you will, and add turning lanes on there. It's overall an improvement of the intersection, which is the goal that the city commission had submitted to staff and turn over to KDOT for their approval. So we'll I talked to the city manager yesterday and we'll have more meetings on the design and see where we end up with that once they get through the rest of the process and get the contract signed with KDOT on the agreement. And that is all I would have.
How's the building coming down to highway shop?
So the concrete has been poured and the footings are up and the building should be delivered. If it's not delivered today, it'll be delivered tomorrow and they'll start with the walls going up. So it's looking pretty good.
Well, I got your attention too. We discussed the intangible tax. How that was going to work if we do phase it out, you know. So
we will do some research on if it's just a straight resolution that you pass. And if the townships need to pass their own resolution, Jeannie's office will be meeting with them for budget so we can let them know that this is a consideration that we're looking at. And if they want to continue, I believe that they'll still have to have a resolution, but we'll make sure that we're following the law on that. And then also, since we're in budget time ourselves, we'll be considering how we're going to, I don't want to say make up the difference, but how those monies that we're removing from that will follow. And then when this can take place, if it will be enacted in January 1st of 25, or how much notice we have to give and that. So we'll do some research on the law on that, make sure we're following the correct procedure.
Any questions for Neil? County Councilor, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. On the indigent defense contract, we have the paperwork completed for Tish Moracle. She signed the contract on the 20th of May and has been working for the county since that period of time. So I have a contract that's signed by her, and it is consistent with the other contracts, and it would be payment of $3,250 a month. And it would be, of course, prorated because for her, she started on May the 20th for that month, but from there on, she should be paid the same, and she's been extremely busy with it, so I'll offer the contract.
We need to make a motion to accept this, or how would that work, you know?
So you had approved the indigent defense contracts earlier this year, and I believe that you listed the names. So I think you probably should make a motion to approve the contract and sign it.
And Bruce Berry was the individual that was on the contract and then had medical conditions, so he had.
So this is a replacement for Bruce.
Yes, and the other three remaining attorneys had covered the docket until at such time as the newest contract was completed.
So I'd make the motion that Trish Morrow, how do you pronounce it?
Moracle.
Be retained as an defense counsel, being prorated for this part of the month of May, and be stipends of $3,250 for the rest of the year.
That's per month.
Yeah.
Yes, per month.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Appreciate Doug's work on that because, I mean, it's one of those. It takes quite a bit of effort and it's necessary and needed. And
Well, and as
Thank you.
you've seen attorneys, the caseloads.
Yeah.
Yes. Changing a little bit too. And as we heard earlier this morning, with the juvenile side of it as well. So.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Notices and communications. I did have a couple of emails in support of the wind farm. I gave some of the other commissioners, and I gave them a copy of it to our county administrator. Introduction, consider resolutions, none. Unfinished business, none. Other business, CUP 2402. Tim.
Good morning, Commissioners. and Tim Hamilton, Planning and Zoning. On May 16th, 2024, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of CUP 24-02. That would be consideration of a conditional use permit to allow construction of a 305-foot self-supporting telecommunications tower on a parcel of land located in section 4, township 16, range 3, on the southwest corner of the intersection of Nail Road and 700 Avenue at the request of James Cardinal, representing the Cardinals LLC. The conditions placed on the project are submittal to staff of a copy of a redacted lease agreement indicating decommissioning of the tower upon completed lifespan. And number 2, confirmation in writing from the township indicating that the entrance will be suitable for heavy equipment during construction. And both these conditions need to be met prior to building permit being issued. The commission options on these cases are to either approve the request as per staff and planning commission recommendations and conditions, deny the request, approve with additional conditions as deemed necessary, or return to the planning commission for their consideration. Telecommunications towers, just to remind everyone that these are handled at the federal level, and usually our requirements that we can put, the only conditions we can place on it are based on structural details like foundation, footings, and that sort of thing. And so as far as location, we can't really deny where it's going to be located. It's just that our main thing is making sure that it's set back correctly from the property lines and that their foundations are secure, which they submitted all the documentation they needed for that. So,
Question, do we have any bonding then when they do decommission?
well, that's a question that I know we've in the past, we've not required that for decommissioning, because the way that these towers usually operate, unlike other uses, these towers are considered, from the telecommunication standpoint, extremely valuable wherever they're at. So what they'll do is they tend to change hands a lot. And so there's, like say one company that is leasing it will trade it off to another company, and they'll buy it off, or they'll do whatever. And so it's hard to really, I think one of the reasons that we don't really require that decommissioning bond is because it's hard to keep track of who's leasing what, and who's actually owning the tower at the time that the decommissioning has to take place.
And I don't notice how many towers come down actually. If they change hands, they
Right.
come in to make improvements.
Yeah, they tend to add more to them.
But also, when somebody quits, things change, technology changes,
Sure.
what's going to happen?
Right. That's something that we can start
Yeah.
considering.
I know that radio towers, these cell towers are different from, like, let's say broadcast towers, because a lot of times broadcast towers are limited. Those do have to come down. But as far as cell towers, I don't know of any that have, they've always been able to be retrofitted in such a way that they
I don't know how much base they pour, underneath of it, like 8 foot of concrete or whatever.
Don't you note that in your staff report, Kim?
If there's a decommissioning, it should be that you remove down to 4 foot.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
What I'm getting at.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And usually,
Fencing goes around it.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that one of the commission had wanted to see a redacted copy of the lease agreement, because the applicant was saying that the decommissioning portion is in the lease agreement. Yeah, and so I wanted to get it redacted.
So we wouldn't have to add anything to this
No.
to address the concerns of Commissioner Chamberlain.
Any other questions for Tim? Have a motion to CUP 2402 to allow construction of a 305-foot tower at Nail Road and 700 Avenue.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next one, CUP 2403. Tim.
That's consideration of the establishment of a limited use daycare educational facility located in section 33, township 12, range 2, commonly addressed as 908 2600 Avenue, at the request of Kylie Kilmer, representing Bison Prairie Farms. The conditions placed on it were kind of confirmation of the correspondence from the applicant to the state regarding any KDHE permits. Staff has received the required documentation from the applicant at this time, and the state has determined that no licensing is required. This is the only reason that this is actually coming before the commission is because of the general location is in a residential area. The concern was for traffic, and both planning commission and county and staff have determined that there's really not going to be significant traffic issues on that, since this is going to be just a summer program and part-time, only operating 2 days out of the week. And so but with that, they've met their requirement as far as what's needed to be submitted, and staff and the planning commission are recommending approval.
Any questions for Tim? What happens if their days change, Tim? Do they have to come back before you or before the commission? Or?
No, that came up. That was a question that came up during the meeting, as far as like what is basically enforceable, and it's hard to really that there's a subjectivity to what's enforceable and what isn't, and so it's one of those things where, okay, how many, what's the cutoff as far as how many, vehicles or whatever that are going in and out, and that sort of thing is usually what we use. It's they don't have to necessarily come before me, because a lot of these, a lot of the reason is because these are also maintained by the state as well. The KDHE usually goes through these things, yeah, and they'll say yes or no, and like I say, it's they don't have to do anything if they change their hours. The only time that I would say that they would have to come back before me is if there was a major change, where, okay, we're going to operate 24/7, 7 days a week kind of thing, one of those types of facilities, but that anticipate that happening here.
Any other questions for Tim?
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we adopt the conditional use permit 24-03, establishing a daycare / educational facility at 908 2600 Avenue.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Appointment, Sarah Anderson to the North Central Kansas Library.
Commissioners, we had a member on this board for quite a few years, and recently Jeannie was contacted because the person that had been serving on the board has since passed away, and we need to reappoint somebody to fill this position. And in Jeannie talking with the library board at the state, they had a recommendation for a staff member or for a board appointment of Sarah Jane Anderson, who lives here in town. Sarah has been on the Abilene Library Board. She'd served on there for quite a number of years, and in fact worked at the public library, if memory serves. And she is interested in doing that. So this would be for a 4-year term, beginning July of this year and obviously ending in June of 28. And we'll try to keep her on if we can. So ask that you approve the appointment.
Bill? I'd make the motion to appoint Sarah Anderson to the representative.
Is that by resolution?
Oh, it is. I just
Yes.
saw it here. I was looking at it. Resolution 053024.
And you made the motion?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And we'll get in touch with Sarah Jane and let her know that you have approved that and can move forward with her duties.
On this one.
Oh, sorry.
KDOT High Risk Rural Road Project at 1400 Avenue. Key Road to Jeep Road,
Commissioners, as you know, we have applied for high-risk rural road grants numerous times over the years, and 1400 Avenue is a concern and always has been a concern. And we decided to this year apply, but shorten the length of the area that we were looking at. We had usually applied for 5 or 6 miles, and we thought that maybe we'd have a better chance if we reduce that. So we did. And as Craig mentioned, this is between Jeep and Key on 1400 Avenue. It's a paved roadway, and there are no shoulders and it's steep ditches in there. And over the years, we have had numerous accidents on the roadway causing a lot of damage. We've had guardrails damaged as well. So what we're doing would be widening the aggregate shoulders along 1400 Avenue. And then we would also have clear zones removal, and that we would install new guardrail, pavement markings, and signage. And it looks like that we're going to have some pipe and box extensions that we would have a part of that as well. So the total project is estimated at $1.235 million, of which our share is going to be $297,000 with that. So we do have non-participating funds from the state of $180,000. So share for KDOT is $1,055,000, and our share is $297,000. So it's a good project to start on, and especially a highly traveled road that we have in the county. So we ask for your approval on this project.
So just projecting, once this is done, perhaps we can reapply and
continue with
get a little bit more of an extension, because that's kind of the Navarre
yes,
to Woodbine, and it gets treacherous a few places.
It certainly does. And then also right there at Roll Center heading over. So
Yeah, I'll just rehear this particular miles segment between 1400 Avenue, because heaviest accident statistics on each stretch of 1400 Avenue, which is infamous for incidents of vehicles leaving the narrow roadbed. Have a motion to approve the request.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Cost is going to be again, Janelle.
$297,000 for our share.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Coming up, Dr. Ahmed will be attending the recovery court graduation June 5th at 3:30. Anything else? Anybody like to bring before the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Stand adjourned.